What's going on, guys? It's your friend Dave Mate from yerbamateland.com and circleofdrink.com, and we're back today for another little overview on a yerba mate brand. Today we are talking about Chimarrão, which is a brand from Brazil, southern Brazil. This is their special reserve, or in Portuguese or Espanol, they would say Reserva Especial, special reserve yerba mate. Now, some of you guys may not be familiar with this type of mate. This is Chimarrão yerba mate, or more correct, it would be Erva mate, as the way that they pronounce it, Erva mate in Portuguese. So there is a lot of confusion around this type of mate. Let me try to simplify it for you while I take a few sips. Keep in mind that Brazil grows all of the mate for Uruguay, as you probably heard already in some of my videos. And then obviously Brazil grows their own native varieties of yerba mate, specifically for their own population of yerba mate drinkers. So therein lies some confusion, some gray areas, some blurry moments of what's really going on with Brazilian yerba mate. If mate that is grown in Brazil for the Uruguayan market is considered Uruguayan mate, then what's going on here? Well, the thing is, Brazil, they have their own style of mate. Very powdery yerba mate. Super powdery, really. Very malty. There's no aging whatsoever, apart from maybe a very short amount of time, if any aging. As you can see, this Erva mate, or Chimarrão, which just means traditional yerba mate from Brazil, grown for the Brazilian palate, is always going to be this neon green situation right here. Very bright green, high chlorophyll content. Simply because the mate has not been aged and it has not been oxidized as much as other mates have. It's the same sort of situation with Camellia sinensis, green and black tea. Black tea has been fully oxidized and green tea has been partially oxidized, which accounts for the different colors of green hues. You get that light, bright green when it's not oxidized, and you get that dark, almost brownish, as you see with Canadius, or Del Salvador, or Sarah, or even Galaxy. Those mates, though they are grown in Brazil, I consider them gaucho yerba mates. Gaucho mates. Mates that have been grown in Brazil for the Uruguayan market. Those are gaucho yerba mates. And natively grown, native mate grown in Brazil, specifically for the palate of local Brazilians, is called Erva mate, or Chimarrão, which also just means pure organic, not organic, just pure yerba mate. Alright guys, so let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. Let's talk about the smell, the bouquet, the fragrances. Really interesting from this mate. I'm picking it up on Ovaltine, Raisin Bran, scones, tennis balls, all sorts of things going on here, but what it's really reminiscent of is Bisquick. If you guys aren't familiar, Bisquick is the typical North American pancake batter. You know, your parents have been making it since you were children. They just whip it up with water and all that stuff, and they fry some pancakes on the skillet with butter. That's what's going on here with the smell. Very doughy, almost like this yeast component. Almost like when you walk into a deli or a panaderia, which means bakery in Spanish, and they're just starting to make the dough, they're just starting to make the croissants, they're just starting to make those egg McMuffins, if you will. That's the sort of smell I'm getting here. Real breakfast foodie, early morning dough sort of situation with a little bit of sweetness. Let's talk about the taste. Now, for a mate that's so powdery, you would think that it's going to be a full body. No. This is a light-bodied mate. Very light. You're going to get the malty taste, which is typical of Erva mate. You're going to get a little bit of smoke, but nothing overwhelming. You're picking up on a lot of dough, a lot of oats, raisin bran, as I spoke about before with the whole bouquet, the fragrance. You're going to get a kind of cream situation, green and creamy, almost like a warm green milkshake, if you will. But really, I wouldn't consider this a complex mate. In order for a mate to be complex, in my mind, it has to be aged. It needs that time to develop these sort of subtle characteristics that evolve. But that doesn't work against this mate. It's not trying to be an aged mate like the Argentine mates and the Gaucho mates and the Paraguayan mates. No. Erva mate is in a class in and of itself. People drink it because they like to appreciate the nice green, earthy taste that's going on. Now, when you're preparing this yerba mate, and I don't want to go into a preparation video, but I will speak about it briefly, just take your time. Take your time. You don't need a special gourd. You do need a special bombisha, a spoon bombisha. Here's one right here. This is a spoon bombisha. Now, these spoon bombishas are perfect for drinking yerba mate because they allow you to kind of just dig right under the mountain of mate in your gourd, and once you get it in that right position, just leave it there. Once you get the mate pulling, now mind you, the first several cycles of the mate may be a little powdery, maybe a little chalky, but don't worry. Eating a little bit of mate is not going to kill you. It may even help you. And then after those first several cycles, you're just good to go with a spoon bombisha, drinking this sort of mate. All right, let's talk about the cut. Alright, well, as you can see, this is super powdery yerba mate. It holds its shape very well. This mate has not been in contact with any water or anything. This is just the natural moldability of the mate. I wanted to give you a little presentation on that. Now, look at this. Just crumbles. This is sort of akin to Japanese matcha green tea. I would say this is the closest thing to matcha green tea in the mate category. Super powdery. Now, to simplify things, this is just essentially Chimarrão, the cut. Native grown Brazilian yerba mate, or native Brazilian mate, Chimarrão, or Erva mate. That's what's going on with this cut right here. Now, technically, there are 3 subcategories of cuts for Chimarrão. Essentially, I'm not going to go into all of them in detail, but essentially, you have one that's just pure powder. You have another one that's powder and a little bit of these stems right here. And then you have another one which is more like classical Argentine yerba mate. Now, with this yerba mate, when you're molding it in the gourd, you just have to take your time. As I spoke about, you may get some particles in your mouth for the first several cycles, but after that, it's not really a big issue. As you can see, it is predominantly powder. Almost all powder. Clearly over 90% of pure powder right here. Then you're going to have some of these palos, these twigs in here. Not too many, but I like the inclusion of a small amount of them to add to the sweetness, as I've always spoken about. But then if you look a little further, you have significantly more of the smaller twigs compared to the larger twigs interspersed throughout the cut. That's good because it lends some buoyancy. It actually helps with the molding. It actually aerates the mate when it's inside the gourd to help you drink more efficiently without having to constantly adjust the bombisha. So I do like this inclusion of these little splinter palos in here, along with the normal size palos. Aren't really any monster palos, large palos, super large ones in here. Mostly just medium sized palos. And as you can see, just mostly dust, mostly polvo. So for those of you guys who, have been talking about how some mates have too much powder, too much polvo, and it's not that great, well, here you go. Because this yerba mate is pure powder, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually pretty nice. So, Jimangu. This is a very easy to palate mate. Nothing too complex here. For those of you guys that appreciate a nice green vegetal taste combined with some malt and creaminess, sort of like a bready, oaty, Ovaltine raisin bran component, almost like a little bit of Bisquick, as I spoke about. This is a nice mate to try. I would say that it's relatively low on the caffeine content. In my opinion, this mate doesn't really boost your energy aggressively, sort of like Rosa Mate, Cruz de Malta, or Mission. This is more of a relaxing mate. It kind of brings you down, soft. Obviously, with all mates, you're going to get energizing of the mind, clarity of the mind, which happens with this mate, but without the forceful effects of the caffeine as found with other mates. So this is your chill, relax mate. If you have the time and patience to actually get this correct, get it under there and start enjoying, I think that you will be very happy that you tried this yerba mate. Starkly different from any other varieties of mate, from Paraguay to Argentina to Uruguay. Whole nother philosophy right here. Erva mach, Chimarrão, Jimangu. This is native grown for the local population of Brazilians. Very nice treat right here. Give it a shot, guys. My name is Dave Mate. It's been a pleasure. Check us out at yerbamateland.com, where we have a variety of yerba mates, including Jimangu, as well as other mates grown in Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. All right, guys, take it easy. Salud.